50 yards. Isn't that a linear measurement? Like that's not a cubic measurement, right?
It's no, you can move. You can do it in either or, but cubically speaking, it's 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet
Yeah, so I'm saying,
of dirt.
did you move cubic yards or exactly what are you talking about?
It was cubic. Yeah, like 50 yards in the last 4 days. I can show you pictures.
I want pictures. By all means, put them on the chat. We'll put them up here.
All right. I'll show. Well, I got to take them. I haven't taken any pictures of this yet. I've shown some people on live. Like it's on live. You could see my progress even like in real time.
Oh, you got a channel where you drop all this stuff?
What was that?
You got a channel where you drop all this stuff?
No, I was on what's his name? On Aiden Linden's channel.
Oh wow.
I was combating his atheism.
I haven't seen him in a while.
He's made his own channel. He's doing his own thing, and I'm adding the voice of reason.
Oh, good.
You know we're in trouble when Buck's the voice of reason.
Absolutely.
I was thinking of 10 different snarky comebacks, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to share them yet. I was gonna be like, you add your cackle to the reasoning, you know.
All is well. I'm not worried about my public persona. Oh man, but I am filthy, and I have worked my hands to the bone today.
What time is it there right now? I'm not used to the time difference.
4:47.
4:47. Wow.
It's 7:47.
On the dot. Yeah.
It is.
The sun's
dark.
just barely going over the horizon.
Yeah.
We're live, by the way. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. I don't want to jump on.
I'm aware. We're all good. So what's the topic for discussion today?
Well, normally we just hang out and everything. I was thinking of getting a couple, what do you call it? Comments, reading the comments for the week and checking up on all of those. So we might do that. I always like to ask people. I always like to ask people what they learned at church today if they had went. Dustin, I imagine you worked.
I learned the value of a good hard day's work today, and under God's purview and provision. And anytime you provoke God in 2 or more company, there He will be. Therefore, church is everywhere.
Exactly. I am still fighting my computer right now to get the comment section up. Ryan, do you want to go next?
Yeah. My pastor talked about the main verse that he used was, "These things have I written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, that ye may know that ye have eternal life, and that ye may believe on the name of the Son of God." Just basically, he reiterated that we are saved by the grace of Jesus, saved by trusting in Him and not on ourselves, not our works. He read out of Matthew, read out of Luke. My pastor just, made sure that everybody knows that we don't get ourselves into heaven. Only Jesus gets us into heaven by us trusting in Him and by His death, burial, and resurrection. That's the only way we get into heaven, by trusting Him, not ourselves, not our own works. Not that we shouldn't do good works, but that's not how we get into heaven. How about you, Jeremiah?
I would say my show was my pastor was very simplistic today. I can sum it up in one sentence. The devil's trying to get you.
Yeah.
He just kept going over and like the devil's trying to get you. And he wasn't one of those fire and brimstone teachers. He was just talking about how the devil like has a written plan on trying to attack you. Like he has schemes and he has strategies. And something that really popped in my head that the pastor didn't even cover is if the devil has a written plan on how to destroy you, shouldn't you have a written plan on how to fight the devil?
Yes. Amen.
No, you don't. You want a plan, but you don't want to write that down. Okay.
Maybe mentally, maybe not let him see it, but you know.
Our plan is the
You're
Bible.
right.
Our written
Right.
plan
That you don't.
is
right.
the Bible. The Bible is
It's already written down, man.
Yeah, our written plan on how to defeat the devil is in the Bible.
Anytime you exalt your plan over God's, you're wrong. That's just the bottom line.
That's why our plan is the Bible.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dustin, I got a place for you to go. Here,
what's that?
Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm looking at our comments right now. I keep forgetting where screen share is. It's this button right here. Start screen sharing. Here we are. This comment right here says, hey there, fellas. My name's actually Jake, and I stream on Twitch as an atheist. I'm a big fan. I'd love if anyone or all of you came on sometime Monday through Friday nights after 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to chat about God and politics and anything else you might want. Come hang out on Twitch sometime.
Are you telling me you want me to go be a loose cannon over on his ship deck?
And if he's inviting us over, I'm like, go forth with the sledgehammer. So it's actually Jake.
I am the sledgehammer. I will admit to that.
So yeah, his channel is actual Jake, is what it says. So I saw that, like, who to recruit to send over there.
On Twitch, I guess I can figure that out. I'll look into it and see what I can do. But I don't have an account on Twitch. So.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
But I'll look into it.
I've never used Twitch. I don't know anything about Twitch. Yeah, I use YouTube and Facebook, and that's pretty much it. You know, I don't use all these other platforms.
Yeah, I've never been on Twitch. I don't know. I'll give it a shot though. I'll look into it. My files got corrupted in my computer.
What happened?
I don't know. It could have been something that happened in the flight, but my video is all corrupted.
The one you're gonna have published on our show?
Yeah, I was playing it yesterday and it scrambles for some reason. I don't know if that's I don't know what the problem is. I'm trying to figure it out. It could have been something with like I said, I don't normally do this, but I did have some good stuff in there and some good clips, but I'll figure it out. I'll have to work on it some more.
Okay, so Sable says, and we talked to Sable last night, and I kind of want to go over a lot of what we talked about. He said, I just talked to Rick on Holy Spirit Street, and he was very disrespectful when it came to my political opinion and proceeded to purposefully misinterpret my points and attack me personally. I hope our conversation isn't like that. And he put that on Ryan's show.
Yeah, that was from the other night. Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole point of the Saturday show, we're trying to. How do I put this? We've had people attack me particularly, saying that I'm giving the LGBTQ a podium to preach from. I very much so disagree with that. What I would say is, I try to understand them first to then tell them why they're wrong. It's a strategy very different from other people's. I know Tim is very much so different from me in this. And if any of you guys have watched Jim's previous shows, he's very different on his opinion of how to approach these people. But I tend to have a softer approach. And we need those sledgehammers. We need those scalpels. We need all the tools in between to work on these people. Very seldom does one tool get the job done. And so I'm trying to understand them so then I can tell them that they're wrong. And I can do surgery on them and help them understand what is right. A very powerful point is with Sable directly. He was on the show for the first time, I believe, just last night. And I asked him to describe what it was to be a demi-boy. And essentially the definition I got, and I'm going to simplify it, is sometimes he feels like a male, other times he doesn't. It's like a half and half male, half not. And I was like, to be clear, the internet will tell you Andrew Tate is the specimen of a man. He is not. If you don't feel like Andrew Tate, that is good. If you say, well, I don't line up with Andrew Tate, I'm not testosterone and wanting to beat everybody up every 2 seconds, and I'm not a pimp, and good. It means there's something right with you. I noticed there's a big epidemic with people not knowing what a man looks like. And I can't help but feel like there's a lot of people who say they're transgender, but what they're really saying is, I don't see myself fitting in with Andrew Tate, or people who look like Andrew Tate. And to them I say, it is okay to have an individual identity and to discover what a man means and understand that Andrew Tate's not that. You don't need to call yourself transgender for something like that.
Let's not go too far, but more or less I understand what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and I also do have to be careful. Whenever I say it's okay to, and I'm talking to a transgender, yeah, I want to be very clear. I don't support it, which is why I specifically called Sable delusional in our conversation several times. I was very respectful, but I said this is still a delusion. I do not support the delusion of transgender.
We got Gangster Talks. We got Andrew. We got Quaker Jake in the chat. Hey, guys. Good to see you guys tonight. But as what it takes to be a man, there's a bumper sticker that you sometimes see on vehicles that says real men love Jesus. And I agree. And, Jeremiah, he loves Jesus. He loves his wife and he loves his children. That's a real man right there. I mean, outside that's,
the test of a people is how it treats its prisoners. The test of a man is how he treats his family.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you guys, while we're on the topic, what does it mean to be a man? If you had somebody who was confused, probably early 20s or teens, who didn't have a strong male figure, and they're searching, because I feel like a lot of those people are the people who are at a risk for looking down the homosexual path or looking down the transgender path, because they don't know what it means to be a man and they don't feel like they fit that category. So if you had to talk to that person, had to say, this is what it means to be a man, what would you say to that person?
Good question. I was in that category. I didn't know, but going back to that bumper sticker, real men love Jesus. And, real men, if they love Jesus, they're going to do what Jesus said. They're going to live their lives according to what he tells us to live, the way he tells us to live, the way the Bible tells us to live.
Love each other as I have loved you. That was his most important and almost only commandment.
Yeah, love God with all their heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And no greater love has a man than one who would give his life, lay down his life for his friends. No greater love.
And family.
Yeah. Yeah. Love God, love your wife, love your children, love your family, love your friends. A real man is the one that he would put himself in between the enemy and his family and loved ones.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that defines a man separate than like a woman when it comes to responsibilities is a man is supposed to stand up and protect. They're
Yes.
supposed to be the person who says, I will stand up. I'm not going to let you do this.
It's not to be a walking doormat though either, right? There's levels to being able to show respect and be respectable.
Right.
And then there's also knowing the difference between when someone's laughing with you and when someone's laughing at you.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I would say is the reason why Andrew Tate got so popular is because he took the first half, which is the I'm not going to let people walk on me, but then he took it one step too far, which was not being meek. The
He
word
thought
meek,
he thought he could use people like front doormats, and eventually what happens is you run out of mat.
yeah. Well, the word meek means used to the hand. When you have a great stallion horse, right? You have to get it used to the hand. You have to train it. You have to break it. So meek is like being really strong, but being able to be gentle, being able to be controlled by yourself and by God.
I
And
don't know
so,
anybody who has that much self-control though. I'm going to be honest with you.
well, so I know one guy. At a church I used to go to. I had a kid asking me, "What does meek mean?" And I pointed to that guy. I said, "You know that guy? Him." Because he was super muscular. He looked like he worked out every single day. He was buff. But he was the most gentle guy I've ever seen. He could and has thrown tables. But you didn't feel scared around him. He was a good, solid Christian guy who would protect you at all costs. He didn't have anger issues. You could ask, hey, is there a time you had to defend yourself? And he'd tell you. But he never, as he grew in maturity, he never, recently at least, misused his power. That's what I'm getting at when I say meek. It is controlled power. There's nothing more dangerous than somebody who is really strong, who has themselves under control. If they're really strong and don't have themselves under control, then you can point him in a direction, he'll just destroy everything in that path, and you can actually use him even though he hates you.
I have to disagree with you here. There's nothing more dangerous than an over-feminized and weak man.
No, I would say a emasculated person who is meek can be more dangerous than a feminist man, because that feminist man.
I would add the caveat lethal. Dangerous is different. When you're quantifying danger, like some people are passive aggressive to the point, well, they'll just wait till you fall asleep. That's a dangerous man. But a lethal man can be a controlled man. There's a difference.
My point is, no matter which way you put it, if you have a super self-controlled, strong person, what you're talking about is a soldier. You're talking about a military soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I'm describing. I'm talking about somebody who is very strong, but has a lot of self-control. So think of a Marine or a Navy SEAL. That's the guy I'm talking about. Now, you take that against some liberal, feminized person. Who do you think is going to win? That soldier is not going to let that liberal person who lets their emotions rule them win.
You got to sleep sometime.
Well, yeah, and I'm saying either one could technically win in a fight. I mean, especially, with the element of surprise. I'm not pitting them up against each other in a fight or anything. But I'm just saying, if you had a nation of one and a nation of the other, one of them's going to be healthy and strong and beat the butt of the other one really easily.
Is Tim going to join us tonight?
No. Actually, speaking of which,
No, he's not. He's not
Tim's
feeling
birthday.
too well, Andy.
No, he's feeling fine. There's a little bit of a cost, but he's told me, and I think he said it on the group chat, that today's his birthday and he wants to take a break for his birthday. He wants.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Tim.
Here and there, and he said that I could and could absolutely shout out his birthday.
Hey,
So
happy birthday, Tim.
But yeah, it's just tonight.
That's
If
right.
you guys have anything you want us to talk about, you can throw it in the chat, but we're not going to let anybody in tonight. It's just going to be us.
That's cool.
Yeah. These shows, particularly Sunday shows, are for us to fellowship with each other, for us to sharpen each other, for us to challenge each other, and to not let the enemy have a foothold in our personal relationship with each other.
Amen.
If every time we're on the show, if anytime we interact with each other, the enemy's also screaming and yelling, then that's not going to do it.
Yeah.
I've been a part of ministries where the only time you're talking to anybody else is like in the battle, in the active battle. And I'm like, it gets tiring. It gets really tiring.
Well, but there's some rejuvenation. You might want to go check out Aiden Liddon's channel, man. Because I'll ask questions and they just stop. They'll change entire subject. You'll watch. It's funny because they just get dead ended and then they have to go someplace else.
I did that with Sable yesterday. Oftentimes, I was respectful, so it wasn't that I beat him into the ground or anything. I'd refrain from that term. But essentially, what was happening was he talked about being a demi boy, and then I just responded with what a man actually was, and then he couldn't argue that. He was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." And then later we started talking about genders, and he was talking. I said that there is a gender out there that's cake gender. The genders have gotten so crazy, people are now calling themselves cake gender. And he laughed, and I said, "You know how silly it is," and he couldn't argue it.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it strange that he felt the need to put that flag up on the camera a couple of times. You know, it's like,
what, the LGBTQ?
Yeah, it's like, you see, here's the thing. You know, is that flag your identity? Is that who you are? You know, you are that flag. You know, I had to learn that, you know, my identity is I'm a child of God. I'm one of God's children. I'm his son. I'm the son of God. You know, that is my identity. And as such, you know, I'm going to want to live a life that God wants me to live. You know, I'm going to want to live a life that pleases him, not myself or not my sexuality or whatever. You know, I had to learn that. I didn't used to know that. I had to learn that. God taught me that. And this young man from yesterday, you know, it's like his identity is that flag. That's it. That's who I am. It's like, no. Who I am is God. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
I'm trying to make a point. Something along the lines of, you know, how do I put it? Either trying to piss me off to some degree, like how I'm going to rub something in your face that you don't like, or maybe in a different category of kind of just like putting up a wall. Like, well, you can't fight this. And that's why I said I'm trying to have a conversation with you, not the flag. I get that you have a flag. Go hang it up in the back wall or something. I get you're trying to represent your side, sure, whatever. But I'm trying to talk to you, and putting the flag in front of your face and blocking the entire camera. I can't have a conversation with you then.
Right. Well, see, he wanted to hide behind the flag. You know, he wanted to say, this flag is me. I'm like, no, we want to talk to you, not that flag that you're putting in front of the camera. You know, that has all these colors on it, you know, that we're going to try to put more colors on it every time we come up with another alphabet character. We're going to put more colors on the flag. Eventually the flag's going to have about 50 colors on it, you know.
Well, what'll end up happening is all those color bands are going to bleed together, and it's going to be exactly what it's always been: a black flag, a
Yeah,
black flag of death.
yeah,
That would be interesting if they try to do that. You'd have the Christian flag, which is like a white flag, and then you could have the LGBTQ flag, which is a black flag.
yeah, yeah.
That would
Well, see, the idea of black is that there's absence of light being thrown off. That means all spectrums are being captured, right? The idea of white is that all spectrums are being thrown off, and all that's left is white.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's partially why we use for evil. One thing I do want to point out, without being too political, but something I found recently is like the woke party has kind of been standing for everything evil lately. Have you noticed?
Of course.
Well, like they were like, no dictators, no kings when Trump was in office and doing stuff. And what was Trump doing? Arguably, generally good things. Generally, I'm not saying I support everything he does or his character or anything. I'm just saying, generally speaking, he does good things. And then they turn around and there's this, dictator in another country, and they're like, oh, leave the dictator alone. He's a friendly dictator. Just leave him alone. And I'm like, so the guy who was murdering people and being mean, you want to leave him alone. And then the guy who's trying to save people and like make America great again is his whole story.
Yeah,
You're trying to end. And then from the river to the sea, so you want to mass murder the Jews.
Yeah.
Like, mass murdering anybody.
Are defending Maduro and they're defending the Ayatollah. The same people that said no kings are pro-Maduro. They're pro-Ayatollah. It makes absolutely no sense. It's absolute madness.
Okay, so I got one.
What was it that they said in the Bible? I gave them over to confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glipglop says, what specifically has Trump done that's good? So
what specifically?
The very first thing on the top of my head, which is going to be a small one, so don't pick on me for being a small one. It's literally the last one I heard of. Just most recently, Trump legalized whole milk in schools again. Said that nutrition is a serious matter and we need to help the schools. He's been focusing on nutrition in general. He's warned against the vaccines, which have been unknowingly causing a lot of problems that people didn't know about. I could go all day. He should be getting peace medals because of the peace he's created in other countries. But nobody talks about it.
He liberated the Venezuelan people from Maduro, which the left supports. They support dictators unless, like they say no kings, but yet they support Maduro.
Yeah.
They support a drug lord. They support an evil dictator in Iran. They support these people. And it's just funny to watch them. They're just so funny.
Again, I'm not trying to say we should, I'm not saying we should support Trump. I'm not saying vote for Trump. I mean, you guys got to make your own choices. I'm not trying to be a pro-Trump channel per se, but generally speaking, if you look at what he says on the surface level, it seems to be good stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
It depends on when you cut the clip, right? Like there's ways. Well, because you can cut anything out of context and make it sound bad. That's what we're up against here is people that aren't really doing their own research. They're taking the narrative as it's presented to them by the media, and then we're having to combat that as opposed to getting to the core of the problem, which is the cohesion in the state.
Well, so one I can think of recently is I watched the actual meeting where Trump is talking, so the words are coming out of his own mouth, and I watched the whole unedited thing. He's like, we're going to try to do a negotiation with Greenland. It's really good for our military if we have at least political power over if we have military power and if we have Greenland as far as being a province of our country, not necessarily a state, but a province of our country. That's what he said, because we don't want China in. Makes sense. Okay. I don't know if I agree or disagree, but it makes sense. I'm not going to blame the guy. Turn around and the news saying Trump is trying to forcibly take Greenland. And I'm like, well, that ain't what he said. That ain't what he said at all. And then the news says, Trump, are you trying to forcibly take Greenland? And he says, no, I didn't say that. You said that. So he's not trying to forcibly take it, but like that's what the media is saying, and Trump never uttered those words at all. Right?
Hello, like they keep twisting his statements, his narratives, his stance. The reality is, there's probably not a country out in the world right now that wouldn't want to be a part of the United States. And it's just the reality of maybe China, maybe Russia. But the other end of the equation is that it's just better for that country with more GDP, better education, resources that they didn't have previously. We do so much good around the world, but all we ever hear about is the negative, right? And I think that there's a concerted effort between those that would call themselves, well, I've got to be careful about what I say here. Anyway, we're dealing with a concerted enemy that seems to want to control the narrative, and a bunch of young people that feel alienated because they're too busy watching the arguments and not doing their own research.
Yep.
Why is it better that we are the world police? Because we are the best at it. Because regardless of our corruption in the homeland, at least when our military goes out, they get the job done. They don't lay it off on other people like the Chinese or the Russians, like, oh, this isn't our fault. Like all we tried to do was the right thing, but you guys are the reason that it ended up bad. No, America takes responsibility for it. I mean, can you think of another country that ended slavery or does even communicate about the fact that they are in slavery now, or that there should be some kind of reparation for those who were slaves? Those conversations only happen in this country. And the other end of the equation is because you think that we're going to be guilty about it. Yeah, I think our guilt bank has run dry.
In the chat, somebody said we should really stop meddling in other countries. And I'm like, part of me agrees. Part of me says we should stick to our own. But you know what people won't admit? We also help like the healthcare, and we protect so many other countries. If we pulled all of our military out and if we pulled all our funding out, you know how many other countries would be really hurting right now?
Yeah.
Like, you got to remember that. If we just said we're not meddling in other countries, okay, then people in other countries can die because they're not getting the nutrients they need and the medical that they need and the aid that they need that we provide for them. They don't get the medical help. So now the war in the Middle East that's kind of died down to a degree sparks back up, and the Jews start trying to get murdered again, and we're not tampering. So you know what I mean? Like, you can't have the best of both worlds. You can't just have money being given out to everybody and then not expect us to say, well, now we have invested interest. We need to make sure it goes right. It's one or the other. Either we do tamper or we don't. Like,
hey, Gluglob, do you think America should have stayed out of the Nazi war? And you, Mr. Paul Slord or whatever, you don't know what side I would have fought on. And most of the people that fought on the side of the slavery was born into it, not by choice. What are you talking about?
I'm not gonna let the chat section rage bait me.
I'm not rage baited, but I mean they're trying to call me out for saying I would fight for slavery. That's ridiculous. Most of the people that fought in that war fought on the side that they were born into. It wasn't ideologically crossed. Matter of fact, the whole idea of slavery was a propaganda piece. The idea of the war was behind property rights. It had nothing to do with slavery. And if you think for 1 second that slavery was abolished, the only thing that changed was the terminology around it. If you look at slavery, the reality is that it's been relegated to the peculiar institution, or otherwise known as prison.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. And I wasn't saying that you were being rage baited. I just noticed I started realizing that the entire chat was talking about politics. And I'm like, I'm not going to get rage baited. I mean, we have our political views, and that's fine. And we can even share them. Sundays for sharing political views if we want. Like, I don't mind. But At the same time, I'm just not
I
gonna
never
get
said you.
screaming.
I never said you did glib glob. I was talking to Paul Slord or whatever. But anyway, I'm done. I'm done messing with the chat. I was trying to regulate, and then I got caught up in the personal attack.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep watching the chat, but I don't know. I gotta verbally say I'm not gonna let the chat rage bait me because those who know me know that I'm really into politics. I really like politics, and it's not the point of this channel, but I really like politics.
I mean, for crying out loud, there's slavery in the world today, and you're bashing on America for being the only country in the world to abolish it. It's freaking ridiculous.
Well, these people hate America. They do. The Democrat Party is anti-American party. They may as well change their name.
Did you know, Dustin, that we have more slaves in the world today than ever before in history?
Yeah. In other countries.
We do.
Absolutely.
And America.
A lot of them are illegal immigrants here. Yeah, a lot of them are illegal immigrants here in this country because a lot of them are working for the Chinese, the sweatshops, the cartels, their sweatshops, or even the Haitians and their freaking. I mean, dude, there's not a country on this world that doesn't have. There's not a country on this planet that doesn't have a fraudulent scheme against us. Not one.
I gotta just point out really quick. Knoxville, where I live, is a hub for sex trafficking because the freeways all line up right here for the entire east, side of the country. And so I get as a FedEx driver memos saying keep an eye out for suspicious activity when it comes to slavery and human trafficking. Keep an eye out. If you see anything that looks suspicious, call the police because I see a lot of what goes on in the area.
Well, Atlanta has like 3 major interstates that travel through, I-20, I-85, I-75. So Atlanta is also a major hub for that sort of thing.
What have I said that's racist? What have I said that's racist? One thing, please. One. Tell me what I've said that's racist.
You're a white person. You mentioned slavery. Therefore, you're bigoted.
I can't do it. I can't do it. The personal attacks. Hey, wait, what, do you guys just not like me because I have an opinion, or is it? I don't understand. I'm not even like what is it that attracts these people? Like, what are you attacking me for? I haven't said anything racist. What do you guys have against me? I don't understand. I'm so confused right now.
They say you're defending slavery. I love this. I don't know what on earth they're getting at. I mean, you can rewatch all of this. We never did. We just said it was happening.
I'm so confused right now. What did I say that was racist? I don't understand. I'm not defending slavery. I'm defending the idea that war was fought over slavery. It wasn't fought over slavery. It was about property rights. And that is historically accurate. It has nothing to do with the propaganda as it was presented. And because I'm telling the truth of the matter, you guys are calling me racist. This is like the most asinine thing I've ever seen in my life.
Dustin, being a part of this, and I'm sure you've already seen all this, you know what I'm about to say, is we're going to get hated on. We're going to get attacked for no good reason. It's just part of it. It's just part of it.
I have to wonder if these...
But I mean, at least be accurate in your attack. I mean, there's plenty, look, there's plenty of criteria here for attack. There's plenty. Do not call me a racist unnecessarily. I am not a racist. I worked with a black guy yesterday.
Well, I think it's funny when people call me racist. I've had people at work be like, you're racist and whatnot because you're just a young white guy. I'm like, I don't even try to prove anything. I just keep moving. And then, like, eventually somebody will find out that I'm married to a black woman and have 2 mixed babies. And it'll, like, break everybody's minds. And I'm like, I don't know why you guys got the notion that I was, like, some bigot or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's just so funny.
I just don't see you
now you do that.
You're bad. You're just human. So apparently that makes me racist.
I don't know what to make of that argument. I'm still trying to figure it out. Anyway, What
What do you think about
Jesus. What is it?
He says, fine, I'll call you a transphobe. Better?
I can live with that. No, at least that's accurate. That's at least
I would say
accurate. I can live
understand
with
that.
that.
And here's why.
I mean,
Before the chat freaks out and tries to get me out for hate speech, did you know, statistically speaking, the mass majority of sexual offenses are done by like homosexuals and the LGBTQ group in general?
Yeah. What?
Like,
where do you find the most? Where do you find the most domestic violence in out of all the relationships? Where do you find that? I wonder.
Absolutely.
The liberals and the I shouldn't say homosexuals. I should say the LGBTQ people in general, because there's
lesbians specifically in that little category of letters. The L is the one that has the winner for domestic violence.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I would say maybe. But my point is, if there was one group of people that I would say, I'm not going to let you babysit my kid, it would be that group of people. I fear them. They killed Charlie Kirk. They would love to kill our current president. They would love to cause chaos. They would love to, hate God for the most part, most of them. Those people,
Jeremiah, could you pull up a chart on the domestic violence? What is it? The statistics? Can you do that, or is that too far out of the reach?
I'm gonna pull it up, but exactly what? Like, tell me what to type into Google.
I want you to Google where the most domestic violence is in which relationships.
Okay, domestic violence.
I can't wait for this one. I don't watch the chat just light up.
That one of us killed Charlie. These people are just literally insane and delusional. These people that are commenting here, but it's just funny to watch them. They're literally denying reality. It says Kirk was killed by someone on the right. Oh, they're so funny. They're literally saying things that they know are lies. They're literally lies. It's funny.
All the internet's talking about right now is the victims. Okay.
Let's bring up Renee Good. They think Renee Good would have been a hero had she succeeded in running over the agent. They would have hailed her as a hero. But
there would have been celebrations in the street. They would have.
These people.
Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud, Go ahead.
The internet will only tell me who the victims are. It's not telling me of domestic violence.
Right. That's fine. I want to see, but is it categorized by relationship? Is it lesbian, gay, bi, and straight?
It's saying who the victims are. It's saying women experience more domestic violence, which men don't report.
I imagine.
Ooh, by race. Let me see.
I imagine that would be the case, but a lot of the reason that would be is because the majority of it is in the lesbian relationships.
It's very interesting. It's only telling me who the victims are. It's saying the victims.
That's kind of what I was asking about. But I was also, I guess that's true. They would have to tell you who the perpetrators were.
Well, for example, you could say, well, then the predator could be the man if it's mainly women who are the victims. Or, you could make any assumption in the world. You could say homosexual, non-sexual, anything you want. If you don't actually have the statistics on who the predator is. Predator by population.
In front of the car deliberately. Yeah, because that's what a sane person would do. I'm gonna throw myself in front of a moving car so that I can shoot this person. You are the dumbest person I've ever seen on the internet to this day. Like, you really think an ICE officer of sound mind and body would throw themselves in front of a car for no other reason but just to shoot someone? You're insane, dude. You literally need to go and find help. You have mental problems.
So I found this saying LGBTQ people are nearly 4 times more likely than non-LGBTQ people to experience violent, you know, problems, victimization, all of that. It is, again, it's still talking about the victims. I can't find anything on the predators. But what I will point out is, where are they? Where they will have those experiences? Are they hanging out with a straight person or a gay person?
Are you asking Google with which relationships have the highest level of domestic violence?
Well, let me look up that real quick. I'm looking up a ton of terms.
Yeah.
They're all pointing to the victim.
Just see which relationships have the greatest level of domestic violence. Ask that way. I don't need help. I do not need help. I this guy right here. Oh, domestic violence includes parental abuse. Like, what would you consider parental abuse? Being told no when they want to go change their sex? Dude, this channel attracts the weirdest people.
I know. It is weird.
They're I don't understand. Like, are they talking to each other? Are they talking to themselves? There's a lot of just open-ended statements that don't lead anywhere. I'm wondering, maybe some of these are bots.
Okay, LGBT couples appear to have a higher risk than heterosexual. 61% of bisexual women, 43% of lesbians, 37% of bisexual men, compared to a 29% of heterosexual experiences.
Weird.
Every single category.
Lesbian. Put that up on. Can you put that up on the screen? They're gonna want to see it.
Yeah, let me see. Now, in some categories, there is one category where it says homosexual men actually are lower than a normal relationship, interestingly enough.
There we go.
So you can see right here, 61% of bisexual women, 43% of lesbians, so women on women, 37% of bisexual men, 26% homosexual men experiences, so 26, which is the lowest number so far, compared to the 29% for straight. What's this one? 5% of heterosexual. So yeah, heterosexual women.
That doesn't mean that homosexuals don't actually have a higher number of abuse. It just means that it's less likely to be reported.
True. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. There you have it, guys.
Anyway, so
seems like God's way is best.
And you got to remember, like, for whatever reason, Google kept pointing me to the victims. It would not point me to who are the attackers. I find that very interesting. I would say, because I wear tinfoil hat every once in a while, that they're trying to hide something.
I mean, it's very easy to hide things in statistics. right? It is, because you can cloud the issue and then you just change the methodology a little bit, and then the question changes, and then you're getting different data. It's easy to mess these things up, right? And that's why you have so many double blind tests in medicine, to make sure that you don't have any kind of funky data or anything that's been adulterated. But these people won't accept that, right? They want the data as represented by the news media because it suits their narrative more than reality. And it goes back to that whole idea of the apple of Eve, right? Because because Eve and the snake was easier to believe than God. And the lie is always easier to believe than the truth.
So Paulus Lord said, God's not real. I'm sorry. So Paulus Lord is claiming that the universe created itself out of nothing.
Okay.
And it can simply poof into existence out of nothing. That's what Paulus Lord believes. Sorry, not true.
Before we go on to the next part, I did one thing I want to say. So I looked up two different statistics. One is, what percent of the population is LGBT? And it says 9.3%. And then I said, what percent of sex offenders are LGBT? 20%.
Oh, that's a large number per capita.
That is a very dense number. So it means that you are way more likely to find a sex offender who is LGBT than a sex offender who is straight.
It wouldn't like to be you guys.
100 LGBT and 100 normal, straight people, and then you pull one at random, you're more likely to find one in the camp of people who are LGBT. And that's why I'm saying, yes, I am a phobic of the homosexual. They concern me.
Me too.
This person says, what is the other 80%? And I'd say, well, yes, that is the mass majority of the population. They are the minority after all. But if you're 9% of the population, to be equal would be to have 9% of the sex offenders. So if you have 20% of the sex offenders, that means you're more dense. If you had less than 9%, you'd be less dense. So the fact that 9% is your slice of the pie, but then 20%, well, that's bigger than 9%. Okay, so to address those in the comments, because I do feel like we're kind of attacking them just a little bit, and I don't know if we need to keep down this rabbit hole. Saturday, I will have topical shows. Saturday, maybe our first one will be homosexuality and LGBT, and we'll talk about the statistics. I want to do a deep dive. I want to respect that these people have different opinions, and I want to hear their side. So Saturday. I have strict rules. We're going to have fellowship today. We're going to agree with each other. And yeah, you guys are going to say it's an echo chamber. Yeah, today's the echo chamber. So if you don't like it, you can dismiss yourself. This is brothers fellowshipping and agreeing with each other. We need one day a week to do that. You guys can have Saturday. We'll have the one day a week where we can hash it out and disagree and all that stuff. But we need to bond together.
Oh.
Anyway,
yeah, well, I think we pretty much tackled most of the issues of the day.
Well, Ryan brought up something. Ryan?
Yeah. What did I bring up?
Who were you reading their comment? You were going on to like science and atheism?
Oh, I don't know. I was just saying, Paul as Lord was saying that God isn't real. Is that what he's saying? And so he's basically asserting that the universe created itself out of nothing. When you say that there is no God, you automatically are saying that things create themselves out of nothing. And that's an insane assertion.
Yeah.
You know, that's an assertion that an insane person would make, that things simply poof into existence all by themselves. So anyone who
Spontaneous generation.
spontaneous generation, yeah, that
Spontaneous generation.
I heard a quote from Kent Hovind. He said, evolution is so stupid that you can't be that stupid on your own. You have to have help to be that stupid.
yeah,
I mean, and think of it, how many scientists work together to come up with these theories so that they can be that stupid?
They form circles. They make entire industries. They make jobs. They breed entire languages, right? And they do that to keep it vague and distant, because the reality is, if they ever sat down to try and really explain what was happening, they would let the cat out of the bag with all this terminology. And really what they're talking about is, this part of this gets moved over to this part over here. And in the course, there are several things that happen in between. Right? That is the reality. They do not have an explanation. It's endless description with no end in sight and no point.
yeah.
It is a confused mind that takes what is and tries to make what should be. You think that you are going to surmise the way something happened by looking at the result, and that you can just surmise the cause. It never works out to be the case. I've never seen in my entire lifetime where you can work backwards from the result and get an exactly correct answer, unless you're talking about math. That's the only exception to that rule.
Well, you know, logic says that when you have, there's cause and effect, cause and effect. Atheists believe there is no cause, only effect. There's only effect, there is no cause. And that's illogical. You know,
I saw one of the comments said that, what'd they say? They said that the Big Bang was probably just the previous universe ending. Okay, and where did that universe come from? Rewind that one to the beginning. What, are you just going to say the universe was forever? So in the beginning, you believe in stardust, and in the beginning, I believe in God. That's just like faith at that point. You don't have science to back anything up. That's my point. It is faith that drives evolution.
You can mathematically take an answer and work the problem, right? You can pretty much, for the most part, take a math problem and work it back to, or excuse me, take a math answer and work it back to the problem. That's what I'm talking about. But when you're talking about reality outside of math, you can't look at the result and surmise the cause, right?
Well,
It doesn't work like that.
Well, the problem
I'm
with
talking to
math,
someone in.
yeah. The problem with a math problem, though, is that you know all of the things that interfere with the math problem. It's written there on the piece of paper. With the universe, you don't. Carbon dating has major flaws that state that all of the conditions have always been the same, and you don't know that to be true. Same thing with the rest of the universe.
Actually, we know that to not be the truth. We actually know that to not be the truth, because we have all these records of supposed times when the weather was completely different. The environment was completely different. Supposedly, we have this entire history book of the world as it changes through its course. It's ridiculous. We know for a fact that the rate of carbon has changed. We know that. So the carbon dating facts that we have today is based on the carbon of the day. So if someone was to look at it, they wouldn't be able to take into account that there's millions of cars pumping carbon out all over everything. It's ridiculous. The amount of retardation from these people.
I saw it in textbook.
Anyway,
I'm going to paraphrase here just a little bit, but I saw in a textbook where it was like, carbon dating works when we don't know the date of the item. But when we do know the date of the item, it doesn't work anymore. Now, I'm paraphrasing here. That wasn't the wording that they had. But if you read it, that would be the conclusion. So it doesn't work when we know how old it is, but it does work when we don't know how old it is. That means it doesn't.
They took samples. They took samples from the Mount St. Helens eruption, and they sent it into a lab, and they dated that at some millions of years ago. When we know that rock is fresh, we know that rock is fresh.
Yeah, all of the stuff has been freshly mixed. It's a brand new rock.
Brand new rock, brand new solidification. It was brought from magma to new stone, and it was carbon dated at millions of years old. I bet you could even look that up on Google right now.
There was a freshly killed seal, and they carbon dated it, and it didn't come back as freshly killed. It was so many years old. And they said, well, carbon dating doesn't work if the thing's too new. Well, why not? It should, theoretically, because you know how much carbon is supposed to be in a living creature. So if you know how much carbon is supposed to be in a living creature, you should be able to look it up and say, oh, this just happened. To say it's millions of years old because it's missing certain pieces of carbon and it has less than you expect, well, then there you go. It's inconsistent. And the other forms of dating, I forget the names of them, are the same principle. You're saying it has this much now, it's supposed to have this much then, so then you track back and it doesn't. And who's to know if the Earth had the same amount of carbon then as now? There may have been more plants then, less plants then. You don't know. There may have been, more carbon in the atmosphere or not.
Retrodiction.
There's one thing interesting. So the planet is currently filling up with carbon monoxide. We are not at our full max capacity yet. And the way I describe it is if you had a barrel and you're filling it with water and you have a hole in the barrel, well, the water is going to fill until there's enough water pouring out of that hole so that the water going in equals the water going out, called equilibrium. Well, we've not reached that with carbon yet. Carbon is still building in our atmosphere. We have not reached equilibrium. Carbon is leaving, but not as fast as it's entering, which means the Earth can't be older than like 40,000 years on that one fact alone. Because we would have filled up and we would have hit our equilibrium within 40,000 years or so.
Yeah, there's all kinds of evidence that the Earth is not billions of years old, like these idiots claim. There's all kinds of evidence. They just simply don't want to believe it.
There's the accretion disk that shows that the universe isn't even that old. If you look at a disk, the inside of a disk spins faster than the outside of the disk. So if we're looking at a rotating universe and it's on a plane, the inside stars should be rotating a lot faster than the outside stars. We shouldn't see spiral arms heading from a central point. We should see a cluster of stars that have no consistent pattern.
There's a cross above my head. I never.
Yeah, there is. It's nice that these people are here. I'm glad they're here because it shows that we are having an influence on these people, that they don't have anything else to do but be here, and that's good. There are Christians who are old Earth creationists, and I used to be one. I used to be an old Earth creationist until in the year 2020, I discovered Kent Hovind, and he kind of straightened me out on my old Earth beliefs.
Ryan, I am going to address something that you said and that comment you just read. I wouldn't call everybody who believes in this an idiot.
You're right.
I would reserve that term for those who willfully ignore the evidence. There are lots of people who just don't know better or don't invest their time into it. I wouldn't call everybody who believes in almost anything just an idiot right off the bat because I don't know them. I've met some people though who.
You're right.
If you let me finish. I know I'm right. I'm always right.
Of course you are.
Um, but there are people who, no matter what evidence you show them, they will stutter and stammer and then change their own belief, even though you proved them wrong, and they know you proved them wrong. Those people, yeah, you're being pretty idiotic. You're being disingenuous. But to the people who say, okay, well, let's look at that and let's, talk about it, and maybe I still disagree with you at the end of the day, but you made some good points. Those people would say, well, they aren't necessarily idiots. They may have just been told the wrong thing. And their psychology wants to naturally defend their own belief just because they heard it first.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't call someone an idiot. I shouldn't do that. They're just simply deceived. They just simply believe something that isn't true. That's all.
I think it was Richard Dawkins.
Weren't true.
I think it was Richard Dawkins once who said that there's a lot of evidence for a creator, but we refuse to see it because it disagrees with our sexual mores. Or basically, I'm horny and God says I'm not allowed to do that, so I'm not going to look at God.
Well,
and I'm like,
yeah,
that is an idiot.
That is exactly correct. You don't want to live to somebody else's accordances. You don't want to live to somebody else's standards. And that's really all it boils down to. But then they'll turn around and they'll enforce their LGBTQ premise on us. And if we don't, I don't know, appease them to their standard or degree, we're responsible for the suicide that's resulting in the inevitability of their stupid decisions. And we're not. We never were. It never was that case. But they're trying to hoist it on us like it is. And the sad thing is it's our empathy that has been taught to us by Jesus Christ that plays against us in that particular arena of issue.
Yeah.
It says God simply does not exist. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, God simply does exist.
Marquise de Metal is claiming that the universe created itself, which is absolutely insane. But, hey, am I allowed to say that it's insane to believe that the universe created itself? Is it wrong for me to do that, Jeremiah? This person claims that the universe created itself and sustains itself also, because God created and it sustains the universe. So to say that God does not exist is also to claim that the universe created and sustains itself all by itself.
Now, the center doesn't hold, right? If you think about it, how does a bunch of same charged particles cluster together in a bundle? They're all protons, neutrons, and electrons. They all share the same exact charge. I mean, well, protons positive, neutrons neutral, and electrons negative. But how does a neutral charge overcome a positive charge and the repulsive action between the two? There's no real explanation for that.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. God not only created the universe, but he binds the atoms together. He sustains the universe. He keeps the universe together. Like if God were to stop existing, all of a sudden all of our atoms would fly apart, because they would.
There's no reason to think that electrons would stick together. There's no reason to think that protons would bundle together in little tight clusters of dense real matter, which is the only place where you find matter in the atom, is right in the center.
Furthermore, to be clear, scientists have actually said not only do we not know how they stick together, but mathematically speaking, they should not. There is an outside force that is holding these things together. They are constantly pushing away from each other. Scientists say not only do we not know how they do it, but that they are breaking the rules of the known universe.
Yeah, so
like charges repel each other.
The universe doesn't need a God. Well, God says he holds the universe together. I would like to see how long you live if God left. If he said, okay, just let go of you for a second, nobody else, because I believe in God. I appreciate God for every single breath. But if God just let go of you, it would be like a Thanos snap, but quicker. There wouldn't even be dust to separate.
Yeah, Glop says, demonstrate a necessity for a God. Okay, we exist. The universe exists. The universe did not create itself. If you're claiming Glitglops that there is no God, then you're also claiming the universe simply poofed into existence all by itself. And that's
Go one step
to
go
claim.
one step beyond go one step beyond that, Ryan.
Yeah,
Can you think of any species of animal that would look after human beings until we were old enough to fend for ourselves? Can you think of any animal that wouldn't ostracize or outcast any genus that was not of their species? How would humans have made it to adulthood? We are not born walking, talking, eating with the ability to defend ourselves. Someone had to have looked after us until we got to the point where we could look after ourselves.
sure, absolutely. hmm Says saying we may not know how this works yet does not translate to therefore God is real. God is real, Glitglops, because things do not create themselves. Uh, an atheist claims that the universe created itself. They believe that things simply poofed into existence, all like nothing created everything. That's what the atheist believes, and it's insane, utterly insane to believe that.
Well, I would also say simply because I don't know everything doesn't mean that I don't know anything.
By
We
our
can
parents. Don't you have to make it to adulthood to make it to parenthood? And in order to
let,
do that, don't you have to be a baby?
let me Justin. My point is, and I'll say it again, simply because I don't know everything does not mean I don't know anything. We can know enough to know that the equation doesn't work. That's what I'm getting at. If I say 2 plus 2 isn't 3, I can do that math. I can figure out that math. Then, yeah, sure, I might not know the top parts of calculus, but I can tell you when you're wrong sometimes. I can look at a top calculus question and be like, well, that's wrong. Okay? You tried to remove the number from both sides and you messed up. You know what I mean? Like the basics. I can point that out. Given enough time, I could figure out a lot of it. So my point is, they can look at the universe and say, this is not adding up. Something here is defying the known laws. We don't know how it's working. Yes, I'll admit that. And by the way, to be clear, scientists have a hard time admitting they know something. They always say that they know exactly what happened. It is annoying how arrogant they are. But so many scientists will say, I am so wise I can figure it out.
That goes back to the surmising the cause from the result.
Can you explain?
Surmise. You know what that word means, right?
Not off the top of my head, no.
So, in other words, I can guess at random because what I'm looking at as like the result of a cause, right? Because you have cause and effect. So if I'm looking at the effect and I have no way of looking at the cause, then I can just look at the effect and surmise the cause. It never
Okay.
works that way. I can just guess. Like, I mean, it makes sense for some things. Like the vase fell off of the table, but what we don't know is what knocked the vase off if we weren't there to see it. But then we'll surmise that it might have been the cat or the wind. But the reality is we don't know, right? It's just an educated guess at best.
I was in a science class and my teacher said there's no such thing as an educated guess. We call them hypotheses. And I was like, a hypothesis is an educated guess. And she got so mad at me. I was like, that's what it is. You're using fancy language. That's all that is. It is an educated guess. I am guessing. But you guys want to say, well, it has more authority because it's a hypothesis. And most people don't know what a hypothesis is. It's one step below theory, which is an educated guess that nobody's been able to prove wrong, by the way. If somebody has a theory, then all it means is I haven't proven it wrong yet. How do you
We don't know
prove
because God doesn't exist.
How do you prove it wasn't the cat or the wind that knocked off the vase?
We couldn't, unless,
Might be able to.
I mean, with some, I mean, if there was a mark on the vase, right, then we could surmise a little bit more, but then we would still have to surmise the cause beyond that. right? Like
What's
say a rock flew through the window and it hit the vase. Well, now we have to figure out who threw the rock, right? There's always that other question.
Let's just say it was the wind. That we theorized it was the wind. We 100% believe it was the wind, and we don't find any marks, and we don't find any rock on the ground. Some guys otherwise. So we say the wind, and 100 years go by, and nobody's proven us wrong. And then a person says, "No, well, I know it was me, but I ain't gonna tell them because they're trying to figure out some case or whatever." Just because it's not proven wrong doesn't prove it right, and that's why it stays a theory.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and agree with that. That's actually very astute. That's on point. I'm gonna have to agree with that.
You ever heard someone say that the theory of evolution is a fact?
Yes, I've heard that said many times.
Those people, yeah, I call stupid sometimes. Like, at least in that one area, I'll be like, no, you don't even realize what you just said. You just said my educated guess is a fact. Or our educated guess is a fact.
Yeah. It's because they've gone so long without any actual pushback. Because they think that logic doesn't mean anything, that science is all that matters. It doesn't make any sense.
But these people don't even believe science. Science is observable, repeatable, testable. You can't do that with evolution. You can't say that someone observed
there is not
the universe existence all by itself, and we can repeat it and we can test it. It's just they claim to believe in science, but it's just nothing but fantasy. It's a fairy tale. Evolution, evolution is just a fairy tale. The thing is, they know that it is. They know it, but they just won't want to admit it.
Well, they substitute description for explanation. If I can just describe this well enough to you, you're going to just click, and the explanation will be in your mind, and then you will be educated because without me ever having to tell you what it is that you know. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just saw in the chat, and I don't want to misread this, so I'm going to read it again. Okay, where was it? Evolution is a fact, and theory is science. Doesn't just mean a guess. So I Googled definition of a theory. A suspicion or a system of ideas intended to explain something. No facts. It's just a suspicion of ideas. We call that a guess. Based on general principles, independent of things to be explained. So basically, we guessed. Dude, Dustin, do you want to roast this guy? I'm going to let you beat him up. That's stupid. That's asinine.
I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. Where do you go from there? Where do you go from there? So if I don't even know. I don't know where to go from there, man. Like, how do you make anything? Number one, science is not about proof. It's never been about proof. It's about ruling things out. Okay? Math has proof in it. Science is about the least and most likely explanation. That's what it is, right? It boils down to, did you make a prediction? Did your prediction come correct? Did you have a verified and logical step-by-step reasoning for that prediction? And then we'll look at your findings and your pronouncements. Well, that's what's known as peer review. And then when everything has been thoroughly checked and everybody agrees, then we will agree with your scientific findings, right? But the reality is it never actually proves anything. You never come to proof because these theories are always open to challenge. Unless you're talking about evolution. That's the one exception to this game, apparently.
I don't know. It drives me insane. Flip Clock, I thought you were smarter than that. I thought you were smarter than that. I'm sorry, but I'm going to stand by my statement.
They like to always say that evolution and abiogenesis are two different things. I mean, okay, what is abiogenesis? That life just simply poofed, that complex living organisms just simply poofed into existence on a rock. That's what they believe. It's insanity.
You cannot surmise the cause from the effect. The cause would be life. The effect would, quote unquote, be evolution.
Yeah. And it is scientifically impossible for life to come from non-life. To believe the way they do, you have to believe that non-life produces life, and that's absolute.
From nothing comes nothing.
But they believe that from nothing comes everything. They really believe that.
Correct. I mean, that is as sound of a logical argument as you're ever going to come across.
Yeah. And they're too prideful to see the idiocy of their beliefs,
Just ask yourself this question, Ryan.
Yeah.
When is the biconditional true?
When is the what?
When is the biconditional true?
I don't know what biconditional means.
So you and I are having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
You have a perspective, I have a perspective. It's also known as a biconditional. When is the biconditional true?
I don't know.
When both truth statements have equal value. That's when the biconditional is true. Usually indicating an agreement, but sometimes brought about by a disagreement.
I think you've lost Ryan. Yeah, that's
it's a way of evaluating an argument or a head-to-head argument. Like, okay, so you're saying that things have to come from God. Mm-hmm. They're saying stuff comes from stuff. Ultimately, that it comes from nothing, right? Yes. There is no biconditional there, so it cannot be true.
Right.
Do you see where I'm going with this? So you ask yourself the question. So like when Aiden and I were clashing on God, a good example today or yesterday would be he asserts that our defense spending is too high. I said, I don't go to nail ladies for gonorrhea advice, and I'm not going to you for defense spending advice.
Right.
Do you see how my truth statement has more value than his?
Yeah.
Then there is no biconditional there.
I see what
you're saying. So you're saying biconditional, to be a definition, is when both parties can agree on something more or less. For example, if I said
no agreement's not needed because disagreement can also bring about a biconditional.
Well, so, for example,
agreement's not necessary.
Well, for example, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I could say there's a God and his name's Jesus. And somebody else could say, no, there's a God and his name is Buddha. We could agree there's a God. We just disagree on who was. And so the biconditional truth in this case is God exists.
That's not a biconditional. A biconditional would be to say I put butter on the bread. And then the other end of the equation would say, I buttered my bread, right? And so that's a biconditional, right? It's two ways of describing the same thing from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Right. See, now we're both talking about the same thing, but we're using different words. So both truth statements have equal value.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
You use high vocabulary. You will have to be patient with us lower peasants.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to give you an evaluation for these arguments. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. Right, like modus ponens, and I mean, there's a whole, like, logic is interesting. Like we should probably do it one of these days. Just go and I mean, I'm just barely getting into it, and I'm starting to understand a few things, and it's actually helping my arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somebody just said literal word salad. No, you want to see a literal word salad? Look at Kamala. Talk about a word salad.
Oh my goodness!
She's putting everything in that word salad.
So if it's a word salad, why don't you go ahead and look up when the biconditional is true on Google for me, and then see what comes up.
They're confusing high vocabulary and intelligence with word salad. That's embarrassing.
I'll tell you what, can you, with all this going on with Tampon Timmy, can you believe that he was almost our vice president? Isn't that insane? Oh my, I'm so glad.
Huh?
I'm so glad that Tampon Timmy is not our vice president. Tim Walz.
Oh, you're talking about Tim Walz. I'm like, Tampon Timmy. Who's...
Yeah. Well, that's his nickname. That's his nickname.
I think I saw that on a Facebook post.
Yeah, I'm so glad he's not our vice president. That absolute clown of a person.
He was not that bad compared to Kamala.
Well, yeah.
He was okay. He was a politician. I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Damn razor tooth crotch crickets.
Hey, I'm gonna let this stream come to an end. The show's getting late. It's past 9, so I'm tired. I got work tomorrow. I got a lot of stuff I got to take care of.
You got to work on MLK Day. You don't get that holiday.
MLK Day?
Yeah, tomorrow's MLK Day. Do you get that holiday?
You know, I should check my schedule real quick, see if I do.
Because we get that holiday.
Crap, I might not have work tomorrow. Let me check.
Species in a clade? You never break your clade. Species can interbreed. There's the difference. I'll go look up what the biconditional is.
Because I know we're off tomorrow, so maybe you're off too.
Not always. No.
I know you don't get the same holiday.
My job does give off some pretty weird days. Like we get like Memorial Day off or something.
Yeah.
So I do need to check, but I would not be surprised if we don't.
And before he tries telling me something stupid, horses and donkeys can breed to make mules. They can crossbreed. It's absolutely possible. So if you can't break your clade, what's happening there? Just curious. And they're sterile, so you can't claim it's evolution because they have no ability to pass on their genes. Let me hear the counter to those arguments. You have no idea what you're talking about. You just stepped in it so hardcore, the difference between species and clade. You don't even know what you're talking about, bro. You're not supposed to be able to break your clade. Then how are we having hybrids like, I don't know, mules? The crossbred between a donkey and a horse. Explain, please, Mr. Scientist. And why are they sterile? Why wouldn't they be able to produce offspring and evolve beyond the dead end that's right there? I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'll wait. Go ahead. Let me understand what specific clade does a mule sit in? The crossbreed between a donkey and a horse. What clade is that? Can you show me? I doubt you'll even try. But you'll try and tell me that I'm being stupid.
I verified that I do work tomorrow.
Okay.
So I need to go. It will end. So thank you, everybody.
You need to go ahead and end then so you can get to bed.
Yeah, good night, buddy. You have a good night.
Hey, everybody have a blessed night tonight. We had a great night. Thank you for all who participated. Thank you to all who joined us and are watching. We had a great night. And y'all have a great day tomorrow.
And Dustin will shortly have
What's
a
up,
show.
buddy?
Hopefully.
Yeah, eventually. I gotta do some computer work. I something messed up, but yeah. Well, I'll have a presentation. If nothing else, I'll do a live. But yeah.
Wednesday's popping up. If you want us to be there, let us know. If you want to run it by yourself, just let us know. But yeah.
Oh, you guys are always welcome on anything that I do.
Well, I just want to know what your plans are. But Wednesday, particularly, I had it written down 9:30 Eastern time. So because he's in a different
Correct.
time zone. So
Oh yeah, 9:30 Eastern because he's way out west.
yeah. And Ryan, when's your show?
My show is 8:00 p.m. Eastern on Thursday.
Yeah, or 8:00 on Thursday.
8
And
o'clock.
then I don't have Tim's show marked down. When's Tim's show?
It's
Friday.
It is either 7:30 or 8 Eastern on Friday.
I'm gonna say 7:30.
7:30 Eastern on Friday.
I would like to take this opportunity to point out that there is no answer to any of my questions, and they have quit and they have stopped pointing out the difference between species and clade.
Yeah, you killed my chat rate, by the way. I'm looking at the chat rate. We were all at 11 or 12. Now we're at 3. So people have started going silent in the chat because they have no answer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm gonna go. Have a good one, everybody.
Y'all have a great night.
Good night.
God bless you.